Red Bud! Welcome back to Roto Moto. My name is Donnie. In this video, I will cover 5 riders I want you to look at when making your PulpMX fantasy picks for this weekend's race, tips for picking FFL, the weather report, race day schedule, and an early look at what could be my team come Saturday. But first, let's take a moment to recap what went down at High Point 2 weeks ago. We lost another 1,300 players in just the third week of the season, and I expect to continue to see this trend, especially on these races after an entire week to forget about fantasy. Championship League players slipped under 5,000 for the first time in 2021, a full 10% down from the race before. The perfect team clocked in at a season high 622. Privateer Tiemaster Pool bringing in 2 top 10 finishes on the day. The most popular team had a really great showing, with the obvious picks racking up over 400 points at once and above the championship median. The FFLs were predictable. Justin Cooper took his 4th of the season, AC brought home 2 and 3, and Jalik Swool snagged his first career FFL and overall victory. The median championship league score was 409, meaning if you scored 410 or more, you did better than half of the playing field. All-stars picked per team continue to drop down to 2.41, which is the lowest I think I have ever seen. This is good considering how incredibly difficult it has been this year to pick a perfect 50, especially in the 250 class. The amount of riders that crossed the double points threshold in both motos continue to rise. 18 in each class were able to score at least 44 points on the weekend, but those that missed double did not go unnoticed. Jack Chambers couldn't capitalize on his top 10 qualifying and instead brought home just a meager 6 points, and 1 out of 8 players missing the memo that Michael Mosman wouldn't be lining up on the gate. This is a great time to remind you all to follow RotoMoto on Twitter and Instagram, as I go out of my way to make sure to point out when a rider won't be lining up due to injury, mechanical, or any other reason. I'm not in the pit, so I don't have any insider info, just the time to scroll socials endlessly before lockout. At High Point, I felt like a rock star, and not the kind RJ Hampshire was sipping. I was leading the entire championship 10 minutes into the final moto of the day before slipping back to 14th. Not that I can really complain. I kept it simple and stuck to my early team, dodging the landmines of RJ Hampshire and not falling for Chambers, nailing both FFLs and taking home a case of Red Bull. And wow, would you look at that? The week and season leader are me. Technically, this is a lie. I finished second in both accounts, but the 2 that actually hold the top spots in each didn't put up a profile picture, and you know the rules. No picture, no plaque. Gotta admit, those Roto logos look great there, and I wish I could do this consistently. Anyway, the ins and outs list has a bit of action. Alex Martin is still out, but it looks like Jeremy Martin is going to give Red Bud a go despite being all but eliminated from the championship at this point. Michael Mosman comes back 2 weeks after the practice crash sidelined him, but Pro Circuit Kawasaki is still thin, with Hammaker and McAdoo continuing to sit out on the summer. On the 450 side, it's more of the same. Rockstar sees its 2 stars on the sideline, with Osborne out for the season and Anderson until further notice. Jeremy Smith is still nursing an injury, and Henry Miller joins them after dislocating his knee at High Point and will start working on 2022. Not listed on the graphic here, but amateur phenom Levi Kitchen will make his debut this weekend in the 250 class with a 5 handicap. Kitchen will be mounted on a Star Racing Yamaha alongside 3 race winners under the same tent and should be a legit threat for big points. Be sure to confirm that a rider is on the cheat sheets before putting them on your team, and for an even easier time, you can check a little box when selecting your team that says only show riders in AMA qualifying results to only show guys that have put down a lap time. It will still show guys that could crash out, but it's better than nothing. All right, on to your 2021 Red Bud picks. I have 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid, and a high handicap guy to look at for you gamblers out there, starting with the little class and working our way up. I feel like this is becoming a trend, but the rider to avoid is again a 250 All-Star. I'm looking at you, Jeremy Martin. Look, his 4 handicap looks forgiving on paper, but the ceiling for an All-Star score is so low. There's just no reason to spend it on a guy with a laundry list of injuries right now. Could he come out and go 1-1? Sure, but that's still just 50 points. Meanwhile, the rest of the All-Star class is just as likely to score 50, but at least they haven't missed any gate drops yet this year. A 250 rider that I do want you to look at is RJ Hampshire. A broken chain robbed RJ of a moto win and a potential overall, but that works out for the rest of us. He has been in podium contention pretty much every single moto this season, and last year he actually won an overall at Red Bud and finished second in the other, scoring in the top 5 in all 4 motos. He seems the kind of guy to end up finding trouble every chance he can, but there's simply no one else in the class with this much upside. It's not every day you get a guy who just led 2/3 of a moto at a 0 handicap. The 450 class All-Star was a hard pick for me, as practically all 8 of them look really good on paper. When that's the case, I want consistency and good starts, so I'm looking at Chase Sexton. No FFLs yet this year, but he has had 5 great starts, and he moved forward in 5 of his 6 motos. Chase always runs a slight risk of making a silly error, but he's one of 4 All-Stars that has finished within his current handicap 5 times this season, and the only time he didn't was a first-turn pileup that he somehow managed to salvage to the tune of just another easy-peasy top 10. A 450 non-all-star field this week is rough. There aren't any great options that jump out at you, with the upside picks being risky and the safer picks being bland, but I'm penciling in Marvin Musquin as one of the only guys that can do both. His -1 handicap isn't great, obviously, with an average finish of just 7.3 and a best moto finish of 6, but we know Marv has that race-winning race pace in there somewhere, and he's finished in the top 10 in every single moto. One of only 6 guys to do it, and the only non-all-star this week. Don't be surprised if he brings home, 60, 65 points, but also don't be mad if you pass on him and he ends up on the podium both motos. The Pirelli Tire high handicap hero of the round, given to a rider with a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a realistic chance to score massive points this weekend if you're the type of person that likes to sweat out 2 30-minute motos for a big payout. In all honesty, I want to put Filthy Phil Nicoletti here, but if you listened to my advice last week, you rode Filthy to the 3rd highest 450 payout with 74 points and need someone else. That someone else is Ryan Surratt. A 13 handicap gives you some wiggle room that Ryan might not need it. He has finished in the top 23 in every single moto this season and has finished as high as 17th twice. If you could manage to string 2 more of those together, a 17-17 score would net you a cool 72 points. The 250 FFL was as easy as they come. Justin Cooper is 4 of 6, and with Jeremy Martin still ailing, I don't think there's anywhere else to throw this energy. Stick with the easy option and do not get cute. The 450 FFL, on the other hand, I'm conflicted. There is no reason to bet against Ken Roczen when he's hot, except his tendency to start every single season as hot as the sun before cooling off as the year goes on. He is tied with Adam Steen's-Rule with 3 each. That's right, these guys have every single one, so just flip a coin or follow me and go with AC until you have a reason not to. The weather shouldn't be a factor in Michigan this weekend. A very paltry chance of wetness, but nothing that should change Lot B into a mud field or anything. As always, watch qualifying if you can, or at least check Twitter and Instagram to see if we're talking about grime and slime. The race day schedule is a typical East Coast fare. Those on the East Coast should tune into the Peacock app at 10 a.m. for qualifying, which is a very early 7 a.m. on the West Coast. I will have the qualifying cheat sheets ready for Patreon supporters as soon as the final 450 session wraps up. The rest of you find it on Twitter and Instagram after the consolation race to fill in the final 4 spots wrap up, about 45 minutes before the first moto gate drop. Before I show you my early team for Redbud, I just want to take a moment to talk about this video sponsor. I'm excited to announce that Pirelli Tire is back with Roto Moto for the Redbud weekend. Pirelli remains dedicated to the grassroots part of the sport with their "We sell what we race what we sell" motto, providing you access to the very same Scorpion MX tires used by their professional racing teams, including world champions such as Tim Geiser and Jeffrey Hurlings, as well as the Club MX Yamaha team. Garrett Marchbanks hooked up his Pirelli Scorpions to a cool 5th place overall finish at high point in the 250 class. This approach has allowed Pirelli to place its research and development focus on motocross, benefiting the everyday rider when they take it to their local racetrack. Alright, my Thursday team looks like this. I have Star Racing Yamaha's Colt Nichols anchoring my 250 squad. Colt isn't a sexy pick, but he's a veteran that stays out of trouble. Alongside him, I'm bringing his teammate Nate Thrasher, returning after missing high point recovering from surgery. A little risk here, but a 6 handicap for a bona fide top 10 threat sounds great to me. Michael Mosman also returning at a 0 with a huge top 5 upside, and rounding out the squad is RJ Hampshire for the reasons discussed earlier in the video. 450 side, I'm looking at Chase Sexton for all the reasons from before. I'm pairing him with Marvin Musquin at that -1 handicap, and Ryan Surratt's perfect conversion rate of 23rd or better to go with his 13. My final 450 spot goes to Fast Freddie Noren at an 8 handicap, who has finished 18th or better in every single moto this year, except the one where his tire inexplicably separated from the wheel, because it's Freddie, and of course it did. Don't forget to follow at RotoXMoto on Twitter and Instagram for qualifying insights, injury updates, stats, and banter as the race goes on, and of course those ever-important fantasy cheat sheets. And if you want even more help making your picks, be sure to check out and subscribe to RotoMoto on Patreon for access to the enhanced cheat sheets chock full of more data than you can imagine to help you make those huge point picks. I want to give a shout out to the current Patreon supporters. This channel is made possible by good people like Greg F., Jesse M., and John D. Thanks as always for watching RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. I'll see you on race day.